Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, powered by FanDuel Sportsbook.
3 Steelers named All-Pro. Browns finally get back to practice. And is Garrett Cole in trouble? We'll talk about it, those things and more on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, powered by FanDuel Sportsbook. Hello again, everybody. I'm Josh Taylor. Quite a bit to get to, and we can always start with the Steelers. Of course, Steelers and Browns on Sunday. They will meet Sunday night. By the way, a whole weekend's worth of programming on KDKA and also Pittsburgh CW as well. Got a lot to talk about there. Not to mention the fact that not only do we have, as far as Steelers game day related stuff, but there's also the virtual pep rally tomorrow. Check that out on KDKA as well. So we got you pumped up Saturday night with the virtual pep rally, plus Sunday there's Steelers kickoff, and then we have you all set to go for game time when Steelers and Browns kick off. They meet for the second week in a row, which is not normal, but when you have regular season right up against playoffs, it's pretty much how that works. Not to mention the fact also Sunday night after KDKA News at 11, maybe a little bit later because of everything that's going on, but it is a special edition, live edition of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, so we have that for you as well. So a lot of Steelers-related programming coming up for you this weekend on KDKA, so be sure to check that out. In the meantime, we got plenty to talk about. We can talk a lot about football, of course, wild card weekend, 3 games tomorrow, 3 games Sunday, and a lot to get to. And also, Penguins training camp still going on. Day 5 just finished today. Their season opener 5 days from now in Philadelphia. Good news regarding Kasperi Kapanen. Looks like he will be in town tomorrow, but he will have to quarantine, so he will miss the rest of camp and the beginning of the regular season. So kind of bad news there. Pretty big day of college basketball tomorrow. We can talk about that too. And to help me do that, he is live in the 93.7 The Fan studio, host of the Paul Zeise Show on 93.7 The Fan, also a columnist for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Paul Zeise is joining me this evening. Paul, let's start with the Steelers here, because actually I should say start with the Browns. They had their first day of practice after the facility was shut down all week. It was shut down all last week. They don't have their head coach available for this game because he tested positive for COVID-19. On paper, you're looking at this and wondering how Cleveland can even possibly have any kind of modicum of chance, because they already have a interim head coach is coaching this game. Kevin Stefanski's not calling the plays. They're going to leave that to Alex Van Pelt, former Pitt quarterback Alex Van Pelt, I might add, Browns offensive coordinator. But you look at this on paper, Paul, you wonder just how Cleveland can walk into this game on the road, mind you, having to travel here and have any kind of semblance of continuity.
Well, I'll say this, Josh. I would be a little nervous if I'm a Steelers fan, and here's why. I just spent 4 hours on the radio talking about a lot of Steelers things. Had some national guys on, had some local guys on. All day long, we've had national analysts on. We've had a lot of different people on all day talking about this game, and they've all come to the same conclusion, that the Steelers should roll in this game and will roll. I don't know, Josh. To me, that seems like the kiss of death when everybody universally is saying that this is going to be an easy game. That tells me it probably isn't going to be an easy game.
I had an old colleague I worked with in a previous radio job. He actually used to work at this TV station, too. And his thing was we would do weekly picks for football. And if he saw a lot of the people were picking on a certain team, he'd always go against the grain. He'd say, because everybody's picking that team, so I'm going with this one. He was right more often than he was wrong. So from that standpoint, I think you're onto something there as far as everybody expecting the Steelers to roll in this game. Now, if there's anything I'm looking at, I'm probably looking at the fact that the Steelers are at least healthier by comparison. You have guys that weren't available that practice this week. You're going to have a Kevin Dotson back, Matt Filer practice, Robert Spillane. So at least you get some health in that regard. If there is one thing you're looking at that might tip you back towards equilibrium, thinking that the Steelers, won't screw this up, what would it be, Paul?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing about it is they have, Ben Roethlisberger, and he's probably healthy and rested. And, we're probably going to see a crisper, sharper version of him than we've seen. That's a big part of it. I think getting their defense back, Robert Spillane back. I think bringing, some of the guys that didn't play last weekend back into the mix. They're also healthy and sharper and a little bit crisp. I just feel like the Steelers are going to play a good game. They're going to play probably, maybe their best game they've played from start to finish in quite some time. So I happen to also agree with all of those guys and everybody that I had on my show and everybody that called in or whatever. I think the Steelers are going to roll in this game, but it alarms me that there's nobody who's even saying that the Browns have a chance. That is what's alarming.
That is a little bit scary from that standpoint. The one thing I will agree with you on when you mentioned Ben Roethlisberger, the fact that he got a week to rest, didn't even travel to Cleveland, and he's a quarterback over 35, and I made this assessment talking to a friend of mine on his radio show up in New York. Shout out to Tom Barton, by the way. He's the greatest. We were talking about how Ben Roethlisberger is a 38-year-old quarterback, and I'm 39. I'm a year older than Ben, and I wake up hurting for no reason. So when you have other grown men slamming into you on purpose, you're going to wake up sore. So that week of not slamming into other people is probably going to feel a lot better by comparison. So if there is one thing, I'm with you on that. A rested Ben Roethlisberger going into this playoff round probably does make you feel a little bit better. I want to get back into that subject of Ben Roethlisberger and his age and how that looks compared to the rest of the playoff field. We'll talk about that in the next segment, but we're going to take a break first. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls, 412-575-2600. Plus, we're taking your tweets. We'll see you back here in a few.